Alright? You back this against the cords on the sewing frame. This is the sewing frame. And you put the signature against the cords. You use a needle to punch in, pull the thread to tie it off. You come down the center, come down to the first cord, punch out, loop around it, and go down the center to the next cord. So you sew the signatures to the cords. Put another one on top, sew back and forth, until you have your complete book. Flip the cords about 1.5 inches on either side of the book, and you then have a book that looks much like this. At this point, you'll need to round and back the spine of the book. All right? And we're going to use these cords to lace the cover board to the book. But first you have to round and back the spine. We have special boards that will run the length of the spine. The boards have a bevel edge. The idea is to pull the edge of the spine over the bevel to create a shoulder. So what will happen, you can see how loose that is, right? You can fan that, but once it's been treated, you can't fan it, right? So we're going to put glue on the spine. And this is the only time we use glue, right? The only time. The rest of the time it's just flour and water paste. So we use the glue. We then we have it between the boards in the press, so it's very tight. We then put flour and water paste on top of the glue. Allow it to set, and then scrape off as much of the glue as you possibly can. Then, while it's nice and soft, you can hammer to the right, to the left, to create the round. And the idea, as I said, is to pull the edge of the spine over that bevel to give you a shoulder. So if you run your finger along the length of the spine, you feel that ridge. And that's what we call the shoulder of your book. When you fold the cover board over, it fits neatly beneath the shoulder. So when this is covered with leather, there's not a gap or an opening between your spine and the cover board.
Does machines do all this at high speed now?
No, sir. No, sir.
I mean,
this is hand binding, sir. Hand binding. So once you do that, then you trim the edges of your book, and they use what is called a press and plow to do the trimming. They had no guillotine type cutters that would slice through a huge stack of paper. So you have the plow that moves back and forth. Midway of the plow there's a slot where you place a steel blade. Where my finger is where the blade would go, and only the tip of my finger will cut. It wouldn't cut on the side. And what you're doing, you're moving back and forth, and you're working the tip of that blade across the edge of your book. And that will separate your pages. Once you do that, you sew headbands and tailbands to your book, and then you're ready to cut out the leather, whether it's calfskin, sheepskin, pigskin, deerskin, or the Moroccan goatskin. But you cut it out to the size of your book, pare the edges, shave very thin where the spine of the book will fall so that it will mold to the shape of the spine of your book. And then it's just a matter of saturating that skin with the flour and water paste, pull it over the cover board very tightly, mold it to the shape of the spine, fold it over the inner part of the cover board, and tie the book between wooden boards that come about midway, and allow it to dry. As the leather begins to dry, some shrinkage will occur, but because it's tied between the boards, it will not pull up the cover boards, but it will remain perfectly flat. Once it's dry, then you can decorate that cover using the finishing tools above the fireplace. That's what we call blind tooling. The more elaborate tooling is the gold tool. So do look around. You're gonna spend about 5-6 days, putting together the bamboo, but it's gonna last 300 or 400 years with a little care.